So yesterday we had Legacy Duelist Link Evolution confirmed for an April 25th release in Japan, and now thanks to some early V-Jump scans, we have our first look at the game in action, and to be honest, it's pretty disappointing. Maybe that was my fault for having higher expectations of Switch's first Yu-Gi-Oh game, and Konami's first console game in over 3 years, but let's take a look at these new screenshots and see exactly what we can learn from them. So a big thank you to BeyondTheDuel.com for actually posting these and giving some updated translations as to what these actually say, and because we've got a ton of new information to go through in this video, and some of it's cool, some of it is kind of disappointing as I said, but let's get into it. So the first image we got was of the brand new Dueling Field, and it clearly shows that they haven't really moved on from the awful childish colour scheme of the life point indicators in the top right and bottom left. There's still the horrible red, blue, green, yellow transition kind of thing, which really wasn't nice at all. What is new though is that the actual field itself looks really nice, with the pendulum zones now in the back row and the extra monster zones clearly visible in the center, which is because obviously we've swapped over to Master Rule 4, and they've seemed to remove the middle bit of the field that says like draw phase, standby phase, main phase, that kind of thing. So I wonder where that's all gonna go. Maybe that would just be a press the circle button or whatever that is on the Switch, and then that'll pop that up. Obviously the highlight is the new Link summoning animation, which looks straight out of YGO Pro 2, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It shows off the monster's Link arrows as it's summoned, which is a nice touch, and it does feel like the most anime accurate that we've had of the on-field animations, assuming that the other extra ones like Pendulum, Fusion, Link, Xyz, Synchro haven't changed since the base game, which I doubt they really have. We do see a few new cards here. There's Proxy Dragon front and center, there's Jack Wyvern in the opponent's graveyard, I think we have Draconet in Playmaker's graveyard, and there's Link Infraflyer in hand, as well as Monster Reborn and Turbo Booster, I believe it is. So some new cards, some old cards, but interestingly, there's also a small hint at Link Rebo to the left hand side, which along with Proxy Dragon makes zero sense for this to be in this screenshot, especially if this is the first duel of the Vrain story mode, which it does feel like. Playmaker versus Knights Hanoi, you can see him in the top right, and the reason for that is none of those cards actually debuted in the anime until like late season 1, early season 2. So why they're including them in here, I think it's going to be because they are switching to a 40 card deck for Master Duels. So it's understandable that they need to actually add in more consistency for Link summoning to get those out easier. And remember, in the anime, the first like 12 episodes were all speed duels. So this clearly shows that we're not going to be getting speed duels in this game, unfortunately, which is a big disappointment, because then they would have put them in as the standard, story mode duel. But yeah, that's a bit disappointing, but still, it's kind of cool we get to play those duels out with standard Master Rule 4 rules. Also, a nice new change is both the background for the duel, which looks really nice, and it's kind of reminiscent of the original Link Vrain's scenery. It was very dark, very plain, lots of bluey, purpley colours on the buildings. It kind of reminds me of that. And we also have something that bugged me and a ton of people removed in this game, which is the watermark on the card art. As you can see on Proxy Dragon and all the other cards, there is no crappy Legacy of the Duelist watermark on the bottom left of the card art, so that's actually a really good thing. One problem this screenshot does kind of set off flags for in my head is that if they decide to enforce MR4, Master of 4, on players in the story mode through Duel Monsters in Arc 5, because those characters and the decks and cards were built with like this freedom of extra summoning in mind. So if you had like, let's say, Jaden playing and you had Master Rule 4, you'd summon a hero fusion into the extra monster zone and that would be it. You wouldn't be able to do anything else really unless you had another polarization and traded that fusion in for another one, whereas in the anime he'd kind of spam out a bunch of fusions on board, same with 5Ds, same with Zexal, and same with Arc 5. So it will be interesting to see if they add in Master Rule 3, so like literally just taking the code for the base standard story mode in the original Legacy Duelist and just plopping it on the Switch version. That would fix that immediately and give players a more anime accurate representation of the story mode, rather than forcing them to use Master Rule 4, which they can then obviously do in the challenge mode. They can, improve their decks in that respect and have them use Link summoning and things like that in those duels, which would make for an increased learning curve and deck variety for those duels, because I thought they were kind of lacking in the original game compared to Millennium Duels. Those were really hard challenge mode, whereas in Legacy they weren't that hard, so hopefully this gives a nice change if they do decide to do that. Now, moving on, the next screenshot is probably the most important. It confirms a lot of things about the card pool, and it's showing the deck building options, which is practically identical to the one from the original Legacy of Duelist game on the PS4. We see a few newer cards like Diabound Conan from Duelist Saga. There's, I believe, like Clustering Wishes in there as well, but I couldn't exactly pinpoint that one. And we do see a few newer cards from Playmaker's Story Mode deck, and it appears to be from his duel versus Blue Angel on the right. So there's things like Encode Talker, Decode Talker, Honeybot, Link Spider, and Link Bumper in the extra deck. So that's fairly accurate to that specific duel. So that's a lot better than the first screenshot. Interestingly is the choice of monster they chose to focus on the screen, which is Yuki Onna the Ice Mayakashi. Now, it's interesting because this card debuted in Hidden Summoners, which came out in early August 2018 in Japan. And as a Hidden Summoners, there were around 9,300 cards, and the OCG actually went back and counted that. And given that we have been given a figure of over 9,000 cards from the announcement, it's very likely that the game will cap out at Hidden Summoners, which for TCG players means that we're going to be up until mid-November card pool wise. But remember, there are differences between the OCG and TCG, which means we will likely miss out on any TCG exclusives from those sets such as Dangers, the Phantom Knight Link Monster from the Leto Hero decks, and potentially earlier exclusives from Code of the Duelist upwards through Flames of Destruction for things like Vendreads and FAs, because those weren't actually imported into the OCG until September 2018 in the extra pack, but they could still make the cut because if you include those, you're still like, the whole thing I'm basing this on is A, that card choice. You know, why would you show that card rather than potentially a monster from a more iconic monster from a further set? Why would you show that one specifically? And B, if there was over 9,500 cards, we would have cards including Savage Strike. Like if they said like around 9,500 cards, then Savage Strike would have probably been a lock, but because they said over 9,000 and not that kind of next midway point, I'm assuming it's going to be around Hidden Summoners. And this is in line with what I discussed in a previous video for this game, that in the TCG, in the original Legacy Duelist, there was about a 6-month difference between cards being released and what we saw in the game. So like in December 2016, we had the new DLC, and that went up to like Shining Victories, which was about July 2016. So there's about a 6-month gap between the two there, and it seems like there's going to be a same one here, and this does put us in line with just past the start of Season 2 of the Reigns anime. So unfortunately, if you were dying to build Salamangreats, like the new Salamangreat deck, then you kind of can't. You're kind of stuck with Emerald Eagle and Violet Chimera, so the Ritual Fusion build of the deck. So unfortunately, that seems to be where we're kind of stuck at right now, but of course that could change once we get like official announcements. And you know, one thing actually leads credence to this is that Konami specifically mentioned Borrelsword Dragon and Sky Strikers in their announcement. So two pretty meta cards, you know, but if sets beyond Hidden Summoners were included, then they probably have said things like Borrowed Savage Dragon rather than Borrelsword Dragon, because Savage Dragon is seeing a ton of play in a ton of meta decks, and obviously not as many as, you know, as Borrelsword, because Borrelsword is a very generic Link monster. It's one of the best Link monsters we've ever had, so understandable they want to highlight this. But this also could give us a feeling of DLC, because like with the original Legacy Duelist, it felt like a lot of the best decks, the best cards, came as DLC. And if Konami is saying in their advertising that Borrelsword and Sky Strikers are like some of the big things in this game, then maybe they won't be DLC. Maybe they'll just all be included in one go, and maybe this will be a nice change of pace for not having day one DLC, because if you remember Legacy Duelist in English, that had 4 DLC packs day one, and then like a month and a half later had 4 more packs, and then a ton of packs later on. And the first lot of DLC packs were duels for Japanese exclusive episodes, which of course would not work here given this game is focused on the Japanese side of things. So pretty cool if that works out how it is, and we can then, because of this set, infer what ban list we're going to be using, which is going to be, or it probably will be, the July 1st OCG limit regulation, which banned the Cannon Soldier FDK offenders, limited Pendulum Magicians with Astrograph and Heavy Metal Foes Electromite being hit, and you know, hitting other things as well. And what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description down below to the full ban list. You can check that one out and see what cards you will or won't be able to play with. I know Strauss is at 2, which is kind of interesting. Spellbook of Knowledge is at 1, which is disappointing because I really want to play Dark Magicians, so I'm going to have to kind of work out how to play that. But this also means, if this is using this list, that cards like Fireball Dragon, Topologic Gunblood Dragon, Summon Sources would all be legal in addition to OCG exclusives that we haven't got, like Crystal Needle Fiber, which really makes decks that involve synchro summoning a lot better, as well as full powered Go keys would be a thing on the ranked ladder, so you better hope that people are completely oblivious to Go keys, that most people that are playing are TCG noobs, because otherwise you'll be seeing Go keys a lot. And then the final two screenshots of this are identical pretty much to the base game. The first one is showing the story mode selection of Playmaker vs Blue Angel. I believe the one above it is going to be Playmaker vs Go, and then before that, of course, is the Playmaker vs Knights of Hanoi. So confirming there's at least 3 duels in the frame story. I thought we would go up to the end of Season 1. It's not like, Legacy Duelist originally, which was hindered by the fact it was a TCG thing and Arc 5 hadn't really aired yet. What's notable here is the artwork is, it is standard OCG product artwork, just with the cards in the hands removed, like the Playmaker one is from the Star deck, the Blue Angel one is from the card sleeves, and it is a little different from the artwork for other characters we would have in Legacy Duelist, assuming they don't change them. It seems like they're not going to get changed because the second screenshot here shows the PP selection, which clearly shows the same render of Yu Sakaki, which would have been nice if they teased a new or different Arc 5 character here, potentially one we didn't get before in the original game. But the announcement does note we'll be able to play players worldwide, and with special rules such as specially built card packs, so it does sound like the draft mode from the base game is coming back in some shape or form, potentially in a new way, which would be really interesting. And we do have reverse duels confirmed to be coming back as well, which is really nice because I did enjoy going through and playing those and getting the platinum in Legacy of the Duelist. Well, not platinum, but getting all the trophies in Legacy of the Duelist by going through and doing those. And that's literally it. Everything we know so far, or can infer from these new Link Evolution screenshots. Honestly, I hope we get a trailer at some point, gameplay soon. Like, this isn't officially meant to be announced until Monday, so maybe we'll get a trailer on Monday or gameplay on Monday from the official Konami website. That'd be kind of cool. And if we do, expect videos on that then. The game, honestly, right now feels a tiny bit shallow for just being it is just an enhanced port. That's basically what it is right now. There's nothing really new they've shown us so far, so I'm hoping there's some secret spice in there that Konami kind of keep it close to their chests and want to wait to announce. And of course, if there is an English announcement, I will bring you that as soon as I possibly can. And obviously, it is kind of hinted to be there with the Worldwide Duels thing, so I look forward to that. But let me know your thoughts on Link Evolution so far. Are you going to be picking up from the Japanese eShop if you are a diehard fan of the game? Are you going to be picking up there, or are you going to be waiting for an English announcement, or hoping for a release or update to the PS4, Xbox One and PC release we currently have? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next Legacy Duelist Link Evolution video, or Duel Links video, which might be tomorrow. See you then. 知らない愛に振り回され戸惑う優しさが混ざり合う